I felt like 980, 990 was my absolute floor. You know, the green made it.
Not a neutral color.
We're coming off of 20 months of the hottest, most irrational seller's market in history.
And in a time when there's people that are suffering so much, thankful for everything. For you, for the buyer.
All right, so today we're gonna make a video for sellers. It's kind of at sellers, for sellers, but it's really for buyers as well. So towards the end of the video, we're gonna get into why this is a video for all of the buyers that watch this channel. But sellers, I'm talking to you. We're highly effective on the buy side, but we also kill on the seller side. Selling your home and getting the most value for it is something I take personally. Call it my ego, call it whatever you want, but I take it personally to give you the most value, get the most for your home for the least amount of hassle and the least amount of time. On this channel, you see the light side of Derek, but any of these people who know me can tell you I'm an aggressive guy. That's who you want on the sales side. So whether you're trying to sell your home by yourself, we call those for sale by owners, whether you're on the mainland and you're a non-owner occupant and a landlord or wherever the case may be, because I'm gonna have my team calling, sending postcards, getting this video out to people intentionally so that you're able to watch this video, assess our skill, assess our authenticity, our obsession for real estate, a little bit of our process. We'll send you our process actually. If you want to know our process step by step, you want our pre-listing checklist, we'll send that to you directly. So just register on our website and ask for it. We're gonna talk story a little bit. We're gonna talk about a few stories of how we did an amazing job for people that wanted to sell for this much and we got that much, and we talked them into spending less money on renovations, but we made them more money and all that kind of good stuff. You're gonna hear from one of my clients, Ed, who tells his version of that story. All right, gang, so this is a message to all the sellers, all the property owners, all the local people in Hawaii out here. We've been doing this video thing successfully for a while now, but I've never really addressed you guys. We've never really reached out to the sellers. We've been selling a number of homes on the listing side. We just closed 5 recently, but I've never made a video for you guys. So today we're gonna go over a handful of things. I have some firsthand review content. So that I sold this guy's house, amazing story, amazing flex and brag, you know, for me and for our team. And he's gonna tell the story directly. So we're gonna overlay some of that. For the buyers, stay tuned. Buyers, we do have some items of value and some nuggets for you towards the end. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to tell a story about how I made this guy $100,000 more than he was ready to take. I mean, he literally was like, get me 950. I said, let me try to get you 1.1. We didn't hit 1.1, but we did hit $1,050,000. So I'm going to tell that story. And to just be straightforward, Hawaii sellers, my Hawaii viewers who aren't sellers, who are homeowners and home keepers, who know someone who needs to sell for their own reasons, I hope to be that person. I hope that we've earned your trust, your respect. Being fans of this channel, you see how authentic and hardworking and obsessed with real estate we are. We help a ton of people on the buy side. So sellers, we have a ton of buyers. Chances are there's a decent chance we have a buyer for your home. But beyond that, whether it's our buyer or not, when I'm on the listing side, my fiduciary duty is to get the highest and the best value for your home. I take it personally. It's and maybe it's an ego thing, but you want your agent, you want your doctor, your lawyer, you want all these people to have a little bit of ego. And it matters to my ego to get you the most money for the least amount of hassle, the least amount of time.
That was part of it too, because you weren't aggressive in the way that you came to. You were passive. I don't want to say passive, but you came to me and we talked story for an hour and a half before we even talked about real estate, because of the backstory we're not getting into of my mom meeting your associate and my mom all excited about what her son is doing. That's how you were able to find out about me. I wasn't actively outside doing anything.
So the agent that this guy Ed had been talking to, her son, the agent hadn't sent the paperwork. He hadn't followed up. Ed told him, I want to sell my house. Ed was kind of waiting on the agent to take action. And you know what? I respect not being a pushy agent, because that's important to me. It's important to me to be incredibly aggressive for you, but not at you. And so if that's what this agent was doing, then fine. However, weeks had gone by, no contract, no seller's agreement. And Ed's just sitting there like, oh, the reason I want to sell is because this market seems to be ending. You know, the seller's market seems to be going away. Well, I go and meet Ed. So I come out to see the house, and I'm gonna be honest with you. And Ed, so you're gonna watch this, Ed. And to all my future clients, my past clients, you know me out there. I'm brutally honest. I'm direct and transparent, because that's the best way to achieve your goals. Part of what I told Ed was, man, this isn't an easy house to predict the number on and to sell. His wife is from Thailand, so they had painted it this green, this like Kelly green, like Boston Celtics, but kind of green or whatever. It was a single family, but it felt like a townhome. It was up on a hill, so there's a 2-house CPR. So it had been one piece of land. They cut into 2. He was A and the other one was B, whatever, or B and A. You had to go up this steep driveway into the back of the hill, and then you go into a nice garage, but on the ground floor, there's nothing. The whole entire home was on the second floor. That already doesn't feel like single family vibes. You typically want to walk from your garage into a living space. You just walked into a landing spot that was kind of oversized, like too big to not do it, like a big foyer type thing, but not big enough to like do anything. And then you go upstairs and you're in this single family feeling kind of thing, but then it was connected to the house in front. So it's like attached single family. It was in a part of Kaneohe where it isn't more challenging places to sell a home. Not, it wasn't like oceanfront or up perched in Huimanu or something, like these parts of Kaneohe that scream like once in a lifetime. No, it wasn't that at all. I could go on and on, but for many reasons, this was a challenging home to sell.
We're competing with, good views, but some traffic, flag lot. It's not an old building, Kaneohe, but it's also not like a brand new flip, brand new renovation. The green made it.
Not a neutral color.
Not a neutral color. So point of the story is it was a little bit of a challenge. We listed right as the market was shifting. Interest rates just doubled, market shifting. When I met Ed, a discount broker, a discount model, someone who he had known and trusted had come and said, yeah, I think your home's worth $950,000. That's what we'll get. Never followed up. And then we were able to meet and have a conversation. And I said, I think I can get you at least $100,000 more, maybe more. And the end result is we're closing in a few days, $100,000 over the target price that you had previously set. Right. And really, if we hadn't met, if you would have sold for $950, that's kind of, you'd have been okay with it, right?
I was told that's what the market, because of the uniqueness of the house, the color, everything else, that's what the market was going to bear on this house. That turned out not to be the case.
So I get where the person was coming from. When I ran the comps, when I looked at it, I was like, there's not comps for this. And I can actually see where someone would arrive in the 900s, 950. I felt like 980, 990 was my absolute floor, even with the shift.
So here's the deal I struck with Ed. He had already had an agent whom he had followed, respected for years. For years, he followed this person. And when it came time to sell, it was just a no-brainer. He's going to go to this person. Well, the person, although they sell a lot of homes, they do it in a discount way with discount results. And so 950 was their target. My stretch goal was 1.1 million. I really wanted to sell it for at least $1,050,000.
This guy's an expert, been in the field for a long time. I previously had my license, so I knew about him, and I said, okay, this is somebody that...
Ed had his real estate license.
Yes.
He still does, just not active.
Your personality and just, you told me, you said, listen, Ed, you're safe with this. How about if I do you this? If it sells for what he sold, you'll pay me no more than you were going to pay him. But give me the chance and let me see if I can go above and beyond what he was going to do for you. And we'll structure this where it's going to benefit me for going out and working harder to get you that. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, so I already have this safe thing over here. Why not go for more and try to get more money?
We had missed the market by about 4 weeks, 2 to 6 weeks, I would say. We had missed the fading seller's market. So we went into escrow towards the end of April. April 2022, this is when interest rates were climbing. We're going to be at 5, we're going to be at 6, we're going to be at 7, 8% by the end of the year. All kinds of experts were saying all kinds of things. A lot of fear in the market. That's when the shift was happening. I'm not going to lie to you just to get a listing and say, oh yeah, everything's great. This is a beautiful home. I see the beauty. Everything's amazing about it. That's not my MO. This home was going to be a challenge, and I told Ed that from the beginning. We were just coming off of a market where you could put up a doghouse in Kaneohe and it would have sold in the first day with the terms you wanted. We weren't in that market anymore, but not every agent knew it. And this is the thing. There's shifts in markets over time. And the more volume you're doing, the more you're paying attention to the market, and the more you're participating in the market, the more you feel it. I had a feeling that although this home didn't sell the first week, it didn't sell the second week, which doesn't seem like long. If you've bought and sold homes over time, you say, okay, well, it didn't sell in 2 weeks and it's a unique home. What's the big deal? Well, coming off of 2021 and the beginning of 2022, that's a big problem. And so Ed's starting to panic.
You're making a huge life change, leaving
Yes.
the country, selling this house, which is your retirement savings, etc. Give me the best chance of making you, and with this situation, myself, the most money. I would take a vacant house. A lightly lived in house, a fully, like, there's levels, and as vacant, as decluttered, as depersonalized as possible, the better. And to your credit, you guys did it.
There were still some leftover offers from the previous market that agents were writing that they shouldn't have been writing. And so I told him, hang tight.
I told you I may want to list at like $999. I may want to list at $1,050,000. It'll depend on how competition in the community is at the time and what the market's doing. We decided to list at $1,030,000. We ended up getting an offer at $1,050,000 with strong terms, but not right away. After a few weeks of sweating, and most agents would have done a price reduction and would have yielded to that panic that we were feeling a little, because we're coming off of 20 months of the hottest, most irrational sellers market in history. There are agents out there, especially when a market's just shifting, there are agents and professionals who aren't even aware of the shift yet. Because if you're not transacting several times a month and closing deals several times a month, as something's shifting under your feet, you're going to require more and more data and other agents telling you their experience to realize, like, oh, the market shifted. So really, I would have never written the offer that we got. I really wouldn't. Here's the reason. I look at it. I look at the market. You know, the way the market's been performing, the way we're at. I would have asked certain questions because we can't lie, cheat, and steal as an agent. So if I ask a good question, you have to answer it in a certain way, or you have to just plead the fifth, right? Decline to answer. But I would have asked certain questions that would have positioned me to know that I could have went for the throat, and I could have got way less and sought blood. But we didn't get that. We got a really strong offer.
We ended up getting interest on an offer. So an agent calling me and saying, hey, you know, we're thinking about putting in an offer. My client saw the house, they like it, just wondering how things are going. And this is where there's a lot of skill. This conversation seems like it's easy, but there's a lot of skill that goes in this conversation. We can't, nor should we, lie, cheat, or steal. It's part of the NAR, the Realtor Code of Ethics. So I'm not going to lie and say, oh yeah, we have 10 offers. You should write your strongest offer. But there is a way to have this conversation to tell the truth and to move towards the best interest and the best outcome for my client. I'm going to leave that part that vague for now. The result was we got an offer that never should have been written. Now, agent, I loved her. Actually, I may invite her onto this team if she went to work with us. I really enjoyed working with this agent. However, she should have never written us an offer at $1,050,000 with a $50,000 appraisal clause and other favorable terms to the seller. We were in a position where Ed was willing to take $1 million. He probably would have taken $975,000. The way that we negotiated, the way that we managed our client, part of real estate is managing the client, you know, managing this relationship, managing expectations, making it through hard times together. The way that we did that, we ended up netting this person $100,000 more than they were willing to take initially with their former, I shouldn't say their former agent, their former prospective agent, potential agent. They were set at $950,000. They were going to list at $950,000 and they were going to take $950,000. Simple, you know, I know the way this company, this discount brokerage works. Simple process. Sign the listing agreement. We'll put the sign up. May or may not do an open house. You host your own open house, you know? So look, again, Ed, I love you. But having Ed host his own open house was not the ticket. It would have not yielded the best result. Let me go on some in between that. In between that, what Ed needed was a kick in the butt. Ed was kind of, yeah, we'll clean up. I called Ed, I said, Ed, this market is shifting. Every week that we wait could cost you tens of thousands of dollars.
Is we got to a point in our relationship where you kind of gave me permission to kind of kick you guys and get you going a bit.
Yes. When the real estate agent talks about staging furniture, what he's really saying is, I'm sorry, but your furniture is ugly as stuff, and it's really not going to make the pictures and invite buyers. And I knew that. I knew my furniture had seen better days, and my wife won't even donate it to charity, so I knew that it was not good. That's why it's down in the garage, and my wife is still embarrassed that people are seeing it. But there was the motivation to just, hey, clean this up, and we can do it. And I have the most wonderful neighbor who helped me out. And Ed, are you sure you want to do it? Can you do it? I'll hurt my back, whatever. And we just did it.
So there's 3 ways to sell a house: vacant and staged. That's the ideal way. Not overstaged. If you overstage a home, it starts to shrink the home. The effect is that the home looks smaller, and it's harder for the person to see themselves in the home because it ends up looking so personalized. There's diminishing returns at some point. You want the person to be able to walk into the home, have it feel fresh, have it feel nicer than it's probably ever going to look when they live in it. Just like car dealers and new construction, it's nicer than it's ever going to look when that person lives in it. But you're buying into that dream of that one day you would live disorganized, this clean, with this lack of toys on the ground from your kids. Never going to happen, but it's nice to see. Light to moderate staging in a vacant home is my ideal way to sell a home. Second would be just vacant. If for whatever reason we aren't staging that home, I'd rather have the home vacant. Maybe put some plants and some books or something, but basically essentially vacant and not staged. You can also sell the home while people are living in it. Now, this isn't ideal because it feels personalized. Chances are, if you're like me, the way my home's decorated and the way it is while we're living in it, it's not an ideal situation to present and to market a home. And I guess there's a fourth option, which is someone living in it, usually renters, and the home just not looking too good. Walls painted orange and the girls' room pink and purple and rainbow, and on top of the kitchen cabinets a bunch of extra Tupperware hanging off, and you can sell a home any number of ways, but I've seen it affect the sale of a home in the order of tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So ideally we want a home vacant and staged. And so with Ed, we were able to get that.
I signed this morning.
It's just finished signing.
Yes.
And we're closing in like 4 days.
Anytime my neighbor and I, John, would meet, we kind of joked around. We had a board meeting. So John was a little concerned because people come up to him whenever there's a sign there in front of his house saying sales. And he doesn't like that as much. So I said, we had a board meeting, and the board voted that we can't put signs, Can you move the sign? And he's all like, board? Well, you didn't tell me about a board. I said, oh, it's just me and John. That's how it is. That's a Hawaii informal board meeting. Just, how are we doing? Everything's okay? Thanks. Next month, board meeting.
I lit a fire. He got shit done, and we sold the house for top dollar. That's the story in a nutshell. So let's talk about why that is a little bit. So one, I already talked about how the client relationship and the authenticity, the transparency that these videos bring. And it affords us and allows us to start a relationship with a deep level of trust. That's invaluable. It's such a difference maker, because most times real estate is find me, sell me. There's people in my office that crush it. They kill the game, calling people every day and saying, hey, my name's blank. Just wondering if you had any real estate needs, if you'd ever, think about selling for the right price. And they go through these scripts. There's these scripts, this is just me talking, fairly unscripted. I have an idea of what I'm going to say. And then I have a guy who cuts it and, puts it together really well. But this, the authenticity that you get on these videos is what you get when we're helping you buy, or what you get when we're helping you sell, or anything else you need in real estate. So number one, that's first and foremost. Number two, because the client trusted me, he took massive action. He got the home cleaned. He made the repairs. We repaired smoke detectors. I made recommendations on how they should do the bathroom. I made recommendations on where they should spend money. Should they spend it here? Should they spend it here? If you end up working with me on the selling side, especially, what you're going to hear a lot is the juice worth the squeeze? Put that up in big text. Is the juice worth the squeeze? I'm going to tell a brief story about another client. So a client named James, I meet him, I get introduced to him, slam dunk sell. He wants to sell. He meets me. We enjoy each other. We're doing business together. One of the easier incubations I've ever had on the selling side. James had contractors and people quoting him $60,000 to freshen up his home to get top dollar. I love James. He wasn't doing the best math. I asked him, if you invest $60,000, how much do you think you'll get back out of it? He's like, I don't know, but the home needs to be nice. I said, well, I agree. I want it to be nice. It needs to be nicer than this because his floors were beat up and stuff. Long story short, I said, look, I got a flooring guy. Not only have a flooring guy for installing, I have a flooring guy for the materials. I have a ceiling fan guy. I have this guy. Here's a list of the items that are high return, high juice for minimal squeeze. Let's focus on those, and then we can talk about touch-up paint and this and that and getting it cleaned up. But I think we can spend $10,000 to $15,000 instead of $60,000 and set the record in this neighborhood. This was also in the shifting market. I think this was in June. In this neighborhood, there were 2 homes sitting. 2 homes in this neighborhood. I think there's only 2 models. It's one of these suburbs in Eva, behind Safeway, Lalani Trades. I really think there's only 2 models in the whole subdivision, something like that. But there were 2 homes sitting for a month, and then we come on market. We have a better product, renovated for maximal juice, for minimal squeeze. We invested less than $15,000. Actually, the client invested less than $15,000 on our recommendation, our checklist, our vendors, and we netted the highest sale at the time, I believe, that had ever been made. The before pictures of this home were a little embarrassing to the client. We made recommendations on, flooring. These are some high return things: flooring, paint, light fixtures, $15,000 or less. They were set on $875,000. They had gotten an appraisal for $875,000, and the last highest recorded sale at the time we met was $875,000. So if they spent the $60,000 to get $875,000, they were happy. I talked them down to $15,000 investment with our flooring guys, our lighting guys, etc., and we sold for $915,000. I think it was $915,000, $905,000 or $915,000. Point is we got a lot more money, and if you take the 60, 15, if you take the $45,000 savings, even at 905 with that 30,000, we made them. We're getting closer to 6 figures that we netted this person as well, because they took our recommendations and they worked with us with a high level of trust, high level of transparency, high level of obsession, and me taking it personal to save you the most money, not to make you the most money, but to save you the most money on these renovations that we're potentially going to do. So our checklist. So if you decide to work with us, we're going to send you a checklist. We're going to draft a custom plan for your home, repairs that need to get made. Like if we're going to agree on this price, these are non-negotiables. What's a good, something like flooring is an easy one. If someone's been wearing shoes in the house, they've had pets in the house, it's dirty, it's smelly, we want to replace flooring. Even if it's cheap carpet for the sale, that juice is worth the squeeze in most cases. In rare cases where the whole home is probably just going to go to an investor, that's a whole different story. And I love saving my clients from cash investors. I've been that cash investor guy. I may not ever do it again. There's only rare instances where selling your home for cash is your best option. Almost always that cash investor who's saying, well, you don't want to pay an agent and you want to pay escrow fees. I'm going to pay the escrow fees and you won't have to pay an agent. Well, that's because they're buying it at such a discount. I don't want to say ripping you off, but they're buying it at such a discount. They can afford to pay all your title and escrow fees and legal fees because they have to make money in the end. In investing, they say you make the money when you buy. I bet you if I go out there right now and find 10 flips, flippers who bought for cash, put it under contract, I'm confident at least 9, if not 10 of those situations, had they sold with an agent, hopefully sold with me, no, unapologetically, hopefully sold with me and my team, had they sold with an agent on the market, paid the agent fees, paid their share of the title and escrow fees, which is nominal. It's nominal in the sale of a Hawaii home. They would have netted thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars more. But because these cash investors get to them first and start solving their problems first, good on them, I guess, because they start solving problems with cash money first to someone who doesn't understand the math and the complexities of going to the market and getting the most out of their home. A lot of people are selling their home undervalued. And we're going to make a whole different video and a whole different initiative to save people from cash investors. So that's one thing. But my team, back to the process. I'm going to come in personally. I'm going to walk through your home. We're going to have a conversation, get to know each other, make sure we're the right fit. For some people, I may not be the right fit. You may want to sell with someone else on my team, one of the females, one of the males, whatever makes you the most comfortable, whoever you like working with the most. Even if you're working with someone else on my team, you're getting my skill level. When it comes to the negotiating, when it comes to drafting up the plans, no matter what the case is, you're going to get my skill and my tenacity behind every individual on my team. So we're going to meet. Whether it be just you and I or another team member of mine and I, we're going to meet. We're going to agree on strategy and pricing and make sure that we're a good fit for each other. Assuming that we are, we're going to walk around the home and decide, should we replace that ceiling fan? These floors, they have to get replaced. You could not replace them, but I'm going to be very honest with you. Probably around $900,000 if you don't replace them. If you invest $5,000 in replacing the floors, I feel like we could get $960,000. Do you want to get the $55,000 net gain out of this? In rare instances, people say, no, I don't have the money. It's okay. Well, how can I help you do that? So that's called an innovation agreement. There's other ways, but maybe I help you with that. If we're not going to replace the floors because for whatever reason you have to sell immediately, then we can go that route, but I'm going to be very honest about the result. Should we paint this room? Should we touch up the paint? Should we replace appliances? Appliances are very expensive. Maybe we should just replace one or two of them and not all of them. Maybe we should remove one. If you're in a neighborhood where dishwashers aren't that important, if you're in Kalihi or Honokai or Waipahu or where people maybe don't use dishwashers, maybe instead of replacing it, we put a cabinet there and don't put a dishwasher. Light fixtures. Light fixtures are such a high return. You want your home well lit up. You want nice, clean. I say modern. You don't want it too modern for the home. So you don't want this like Jetsons looking light fixture, but you do want like a clean LED light. Those are big things. Sometimes it's should we scrape the popcorn ceiling? In some instances, yeah. Your cousin can do drywall and scrape, and you guys can have a scraping party and there's no asbestos. It may be the right thing to do, but in the totality of things, there's 100 things that we could do to sell a house. A lot of times you only need 10 of them to get 90% of the result. So just like my client, James, he could have spent $65,000. We only spent 15, I think it was less than 15. And we ended up netting him about like $75,000 more based on our advice. So number one, there's a long story for a short answer. Number one is we're going to meet. Number two is we're going to come up with a plan and create a checklist for your home. Where do we find that the juice is worth the squeeze? Number three, we're going to come up with a pricing and a marketing strategy. Believe it or not, for certain neighborhoods, I prefer to list on this day of the week than this day of the week. More importantly, for certain market conditions. For certain market conditions, we'll list on a Monday, no showings until the weekend. One home in the neighborhood may call for a different strategy than another home in the neighborhood. So that could come down to pricing, to the day that we list, the type of media that we get. Are we doing a 3D Matterport tour where people can go on Zillow and go on these sites and click through and walk through your house? Maybe not, because maybe you have too much personal stuff in your house and you don't want that level of detail out in the internet. Maybe yes, because you live in a neighborhood like Kailua where there's a higher chance than most neighborhoods, someone from the mainland is going to buy your house, which means there's a higher chance that someone's going to buy it virtually. If someone buys it virtually, that Matterport tour could be very important. Maybe we have that 3D tour, but we don't make it public. Maybe we have pictures or a sort of video that doesn't show personal things, but showcases the home really well. And for buyers who are virtual, we send that video separately so that we're not broadcasting, the picture of your grandparents that you don't want put out to the public, to the entire world, only to those people that need to see the home in its 3D nature and make a strong decision. Because one thing is, post-COVID, there are so many virtual buyers. I would rather them see that 3D tour and make an informed decision and get into escrow on something that they want, so we don't waste your time as a seller. Because if they come here for the home inspection, that's the first time they've seen the home and they never had that 3D walkthrough, and they don't realize that, oh, this door is facing south. In my religion, that's a bad thing. Or, oh, it's kind of quirky the way you enter the garage. There's like this laundry room thing, but there's barely any standing room in the laundry room thing. And I couldn't really tell that from the pictures. Well, the person came to the Sunday open house, and it's on them. I mean, they made the decision. The person flew in from Philadelphia to buy your Kailua house. And that's the first time they're seeing that quirk. That might be the end of an escrow. And it looks bad when you enter the fight after being, dropped and falling out of escrow. So pricing strategy. I've made other videos about this, all about pricing, what the market's doing, how to price a home. And pricing a home is different than even 6 months ago, than 3 months ago. Pricing homes in different neighborhoods is different. So for example, during COVID, this became commonplace. But even before COVID, I'd see some guys do this. They're going to sell a home for $900,000. They list it for $825,000. Now, what are the reasons for doing this? For one, it creates a lot of buzz. A lot of people whose budget, maxed out at $850,000, now they're looking at your $900,000 home. But because it's only priced at $825,000, they feel like they can get it. Maybe we have more offers. Now when we're having the conversation with that one good person who could go up to $925,000, we are able to state to them, well, we have 10 offers in hand. And it's true. We're not lying, right? Underpricing your home can create a feeding frenzy. Now, where's the risk in that? When you underprice a home in today's market, where days on market is longer, inventory is more, supply is more, the statistics are showing not a buyer's market, but not as strong of a seller's market as it was. When you underprice a home in today's market and you miss the mark and you didn't predict that, you didn't realize that it was Super Bowl Sunday and people weren't going to buy homes as much on your first weekend or whatever the case may be. And now you didn't sell on the first weekend. You didn't sell on the second weekend. You didn't sell on the third weekend. And you're sitting at 825 and you wanted to sell for no less than 900. That was the mark. Now you're kind of screwed. Now you've put yourself in a position of looking weak. No one wanted it at 825. How is John Doe going to convince Jane Doe to buy it at 900? Unless they have a really skilled agent that says, hey, that's Derek Okahashi and his team. Sometimes they do this underpricing strategy. They miss the mark, but trust me, the home's worth 900. It'll appraise for 900. Chances are their buyer's agent cannot convince their clients of that and to buy this home that wouldn't even sell for 3-4 weeks at 825 to now write an offer for 900. There's no way. However, if you're priced at 900, and we agreed that from the beginning, this is a unique house. This house is green. It happened with Ed. It's green. There's no square footage downstairs. It's on a hill. It's in a flag lot. It's going to take the right buyer to come along and buy this house. If you're priced at 900, or in this case, in Ed's case, you're priced at $1,050,000, you may get $1,050,000. And that's where we were priced, and that's what we got. Pricing is nuanced. It would take an entire video to talk about it again for today's market. The last video we made, which we'll link to this episode, we were kind of in the shift. We're still mostly talking in terms of that strong seller's market. Now we're in sort of a moderate seller's market, a normalized seller's market. Pricing homes is important. 2 homes in the same street can call for a different pricing strategy. Certainly a home in Kailua versus a home in Waianae, totally different pricing strategy, different marketing strategy. So we're going to have to agree on that, right? And hopefully you trust our level of skill, our level of authenticity and transparency and obsession to come up with a marketing and a pricing strategy for your home that you agree with, that you feel great about, and we can work together. So some of the hurdles that come with selling a home are for one, missing the mark, not being marketed correctly, not preparing the home correctly, not being priced correctly. And then when these conversations happen, I wouldn't even say a good agent, but a decent agent even calls the listing agent and says, hey, do you have any offers? How are things going? Why are your sellers selling? There's a crap. That is I always tell my agents and mentees, don't forget that you're swimming with sharks. Every time I go surf here in Hawaii, there's sharks in the water. Now, do they bite me? Not always. Actually, not ever. But when you're in this real estate game, there's a bunch of really skilled killers in this game. Not always. Sometimes you're talking to someone who's the opposite. But you have to assume that every person you're talking to could take you for a ride and take advantage of you. Are there situations where the buyer just has the leverage and they can go for our throats? Yes. But we can minimize the bleeding with skill and with a personal mission to do the best thing for you. Hopefully we're in a situation where we have the leverage and we can get the highest result. But even if we're marketed right, even if we're priced right, even if we're strategized right, the whole thing's right. These conversations, these negotiations, if they don't take place with the right level of skill, the right level of nuance, it could cost you 5-6 figures. So a lot of people are probably watching this, and if you made it this far, you're thinking, well, Derek, what are your fees? And back to being skilled and nuanced and objective and all the things that I pride myself in being, it depends. It depends on your situation. Oh, Derek, I thought you were keeping it real. Like I thought you were on the real. You just say straight. Well, here's the thing. You want to sell a remodel. You just remodeled 2 years ago, and you did it nicely. The whites and the grays and the navy blues and the plants, and you want to sell in Ocean Point, hot neighborhood, Haleakea, Ko'olina. I don't know. You want to sell in a hot neighborhood, and because you took this amazing job opportunity in Phoenix, you want to sell quick. Because you actually identified a home over there. And so we agree the house is worth $1 million, let's just say. We agree that bottom line, $980. You're going to take no less than $980. And I say, well, I hope I can get you $1 million, $1.010 million or something. That's my high-end goal. Because in this neighborhood, it's very easy to predict what, the range at which people could sell their home for. And let's say you want to list at $975 because you're like, hey, Derek, look, my wife's a stager. Oh, it's pre-staged. The colors are beautiful, and I'm listing my house at a certain price. I'm going to be gone. Just knock it out for me. Well, that situation sounds more achievable and less heavy than a situation where the same guy says, look, I know my dogs pee in the house. I know it smells like pee, but some people are pet owners, Derek. They don't mind. And I mean, yeah, I built 2002. I haven't renovated it since 2002. It's 20 years, but people like whites, right? Like white cabinets, they're scratched up. Flooring, nah, I don't replace flooring. I mean, I got 200 grand in the bank, but I'm not going to replace any flooring because I don't think people really care about flooring. I think Hawaiians are ridiculous taking their shoes off all the time. I think you should wear shoes in the house. Well, that sounds like a different level of work. And I want $1,030,000 for that house. When I say stretch goal is $1,010,000, I don't think you could even get $1,030,000 for this house. Well, for one, do we decide to work together? Maybe, maybe not. But the amount of effort, the amount of time, the amount of input, the situation is just totally different than the former. So when I say it depends, it just depends. It also depends on price point. Are we selling $20 million mansion in Kahala? Are we selling a piece of land, agriculture land? Every situation's different. Are we divorced, right? Are we divorcing? Did someone pass? Are we delinquent on our taxes? Every situation's so different. But what I will say, just like I did for Ed, just like I did for James, I'll work hard to make sure you make more money with me than with anyone else. Do I always charge the fullest of the full price? No. Have I charged more than the standard price? Have I worked with a seller and said, hey, for this to make sense and for me to do the things needed to successfully sell this home? So here's a good example. Are you on the mainland? Your home needs to be renovated, but you need us to kind of carry the renovations a bit. Like, you can pay for the renovations and all that, but you have no one to let the people in. You have no one to check on the work. You have no one to pick out the colors. Like, that's a different situation too. So every situation is different. But what I can promise you is it will always be fair. I will work hard to make sure you make more money. You net more money with less stress and less time with me than with anyone else. And it'll always make business sense. It'll always make business sense for you. So I hope that we get to work together. I promise something for the buyers. So for the buyers, the reason why this video is valuable for you is because you want to buy a house. Well, whether you're local, you're sitting in Pro City, Kailua, Kaneohe, North Shore, Diamond Head, whatever the case may be, you want a home and there's a limited supply of homes. That's why Hawaii is such a great place to invest. Can be, depending on your strategy, because supply and demand makes sense for people who own the assets. Well, the best way to find an opportunity that doesn't exist is to get on the phones, to get in the mailing campaigns. There's other creative marketing strategies to find sellers. So we are a team that's highly effective on the buy side, highly effective on the seller side. We broadcast and sort of market to the world more the buy side because YouTube and the other social media tends to reward that. Sellers are a little more fickle. Sellers go from don't have a problem, don't have a problem, don't have a problem, have a problem, need an agent, boom, let's get into, let's get started. So the process for going after sellers is different. Well, we're here to change that, because what usually happens with sellers, unless they have an aunt or an uncle and they already decided on their agent, in which case they're not this far in the video probably anyway, sellers require people to follow up, sort of pester them because they really don't have a solidified problem yet. There hasn't been death, divorce, delinquent taxes. None of the D's have happened. They haven't taken the promotion. They haven't gotten orders to move. They're military. They might stay in Hawaii. They might not. But when that problem happens, these conversations happen really quick. So I hope that this video finds those people who watch us, who are entertained, who know, like, and trust us, who have high confidence in our obsession and our skill and our authenticity. And when it's time for you to sell, or when it's time for your friend to sell, that you consider us. You consider, inviting me to your home for an interview, or jumping on the phone, giving me a call, signing up on our website so you can interview me and see how I stack up against the competition. So the value for buyers is that what you have in this channel is a team that's highly effective on the buy side, highly effective on the sell side. There's a limited amount of homes out there, but there's always more coming. The more that we attract sellers through videos like this, through marketing campaigns, through direct mail campaigns, cold calling, there's people on our team that do that. The more that we're out there hustling and creating potential opportunities, the more good stuff happens. I've seen it throughout my career. The more you show up, the luckier you get. So what we're doing for our buyers and for ourselves, I want to be totally self-righteous, but what we're doing is we're out here hustling and talking to sellers, talking to buyers, talking to people who are going to keep their home, but have a friend who has a neighbor who wants to sell a 3-2 in the neighborhood that you're looking for, or a condo in the building that you're looking for. We're out hustling and having these conversations every day. So not only do we know the island like the back of our hand, not only do we know the numbers, and the metrics and the investment metrics and all of that stuff, but we're also out here hunting. We're also hunting, prospecting, marketing, mark-specting. I got to brand that. And we're just out here trying to create as many opportunities as we can for everyone in our sphere, everyone in our circle, in our bubble, in our system, in our funnel. And another thing we're going to do for sellers is we're going to expose to you a list of the buyers that we have. We have buyers, we mark them in certain categories. So buyers are lava. Lava is like super hot. We're going into escrow any minute. We're ready to write offers. We have hot buyers who are going to buy pretty soon. We have warm, etc. We're gonna expose to you our entire buyer list. Now, I'm not going to give away my book of business to random strangers, but we're going to go through our buyers list and show you who we have, and potentially, I think there's a better chance that we have someone who might want to buy your home off market. And that's another thing. Could we maybe do a better deal if we're doing this off market? Because in most cases, you shouldn't go off market. In most cases, majority of cases. But maybe sometimes there's a situation right now, a guy doesn't want to sell for 6 months, but he feels like the market's declining. He'd like to get into escrow now. We have a cash buyer who's not moving back for 9 months. She's ready to buy cash and wants a very specific thing in Hawaii Kai. It may be the right situation for them two to get in a relationship now, because the cash buyer doesn't have to sign an owner occupant affidavit and occupy the home within 60 days like someone who's getting a loan. So many possibilities. That's where our skill comes into play. I think, I have no data to back this, but I think that there's a better chance that my team has a buyer for your house off market or on market. But when people are calling, they're doing these cold calls. Hey, my name is Derek, and I'm just calling because I have a buyer who may want to buy a home in your neighborhood. I don't know how much I always believe that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know. But what I can say is I think there's a better chance that we do have a buyer for your home on this island than probably any other team. And so maybe that buyer makes the most sense for you. Maybe you want to sell to them for whatever reasons. Maybe not. Maybe we do have a buyer that would want it, but that's not the best outcome for you. You love it that they're a family and they're trying to get a house with a pool in Hawaii, but it's important for you to milk, to get every bit of juice out of this lemon as possible and to squeeze every dollar out. Because like my client, Lynn, we were selling her mom's house in Kaneohe, and she's a personal friend. So Auntie, who's she's 96 now, strong, 96-year-old. Auntie, who's 96 now, the sale of this home was her family's legacy and was going to fund her the rest of her life. I had an agent get mad at me. He was like, bro, but Derek, I put an offer in first. And I was like, well, bro, how many houses do you sell a year? Did I tell you about this? I was like, how many houses do you sell a year? I was like, I cannot go with the first offer just because he's like, yeah, but my buyers went well above asking, and we could have went up more. And what we ended up accepting was a far superior offer, tens of thousands over his offer, with $650,000 down payment. And when this house appraised for $150,000 or $200,000 short because they had that down payment, because we negotiated that down payment, we were able to actually close the deal on a home that appraised at 1.1 that we closed for 1.3. And so selling your home to our big book of business, or all the buyers that we have, may make sense, but it may not. And for most people, going to the market, squeezing all the juice, leaving that lemon dry and getting every dollar that you can from the open market is going to be the right decision. But just know that when people are calling you, they're cold calling your neighborhood and saying, hey, we have a buyer for your neighborhood. Maybe true, it may not, but for us, it's probably true most often with this team, with Core Team Hawaii.